I took a microphone with me, and we used that in Glasgow, we were using the shop, we had loads of things, 30-40 people were all around us. Yeah, Buchanan Street, yeah. And it was a great day, like, for that. We did.
Baxter was caught in March this year, actually shipping the live avian bird flu virus. It was shipped to 16 countries in Europe. It actually contained the live virus. This is criminal activity because it's not possible to actually contaminate a virus, contaminate the vaccine with the actual virus.
I am a concerned parent. I did have concerns about a mass vaccination campaign being forced upon the general public, and that possibly, but I don't know for definite, that this vaccine could be a bioweapon to try and reduce the population. We do have evidence of is a massive media frenzy over a vaccination and a virus that doesn't appear to be very virulent at all. Seasonal flu is far more dangerous. We're seeing a manipulation of figures. We're seeing Tamiflu being distributed left, right and centre, and that has actually caused some deaths. A young girl was died after taking Tamiflu. It has its risks.
It only delays the effects for 24 hours if you're lucky. It does nothing to do to help you against swine flu. It's merely something they created in a lab thinking it would help, and then they realised, wait a minute, we're going to make a huge loss if we can't get rid of all this Tamiflu. Let's ship it to Europe.
All round, I just think that the whole campaign that we're seeing is highly suspect, and I want to make the public as aware of that as possible.
You're not going to die swine flu.
Baxter, who also seemed to be quite cosy with the bankers who pass things through the House of Lords, which then goes through Parliament, want to make money and profit from the vaccine.
I'm from We Are Change Glasgow. My name is Alan Craig.
They actually passed legislation within law that they will not be able to get sued if anything happens when you get the swine flu. They wanted anonymity. Very few companies will ever ask for such legislation to get passed. This is not right. Why is it we're being told we can't sue a company that's not even testing a jab, which is proven not to be safe? And it also killed 5,000 people, more than the people who caught swine flu in America in the 1970s.
We want to make it a progressive thing, where we want to expose the lies, the scandals which are going on, or politicians.
The actual swine flu virus that started off in America happened in an army base. I think it was in San Francisco. They were actually testing it on soldiers within the army base, and that is where swine flu started in America, and it's also spread. And there was a hype created in America, much like the hype we're getting today, and more people were killed with the vaccine. 5,000 died from it in America.
Asking the truth is not something that's a religion or something that it's seen as basically, today the truth is lies and science is now fiction. You can't even use that as evidence these days within the mainstream media. So we just need to get back to basics and make people aware that they are more important than, and just as equally important as everyone else that isn't in government, and we can change things because we put them in power.
It was made for profit. Are all about profit. Baxter is talking through millions of pounds. Tamiflu is not effective against swine flu because it's not possible to actually contaminate a virus, contaminate the vaccine with the actual virus.
Those sides of it, where they make money off drugs and vaccines and wars to fund the government, to keep it afloat, our economy as well, it just doesn't make any sense, and we need to get back to saving getting our own country built back up instead of nation building in other countries and fixing other people's problems.
The 2,000 children were at the tip of the iceberg. This is a shameful scandal. The MMR scandal is a shameful scandal orchestrated by a shameful government, aided and abetted by their friends in the pharmaceutical industry and in the Joint Committee of Vaccination and Immunisation. Professor David Salisbury, the UK's Director of Immunisation, and the Joint Committee of Vaccination and Immunisation know that the MMR is damaging a large subset of children, many of whom are now non-verbal, unable to concentrate, and very, very ill. This is a criminal act. The criminals of the Joint Committee of Vaccination and Immunisation must be brought to justice. Say no to MMR vaccination. Say no to swine flu vaccination. Say no to cervical cancer vaccination. Say no to vaccination.
I love these ministries in the 1984, the Ministry of Love.
Truth, the Ministry of Truth, yeah. Let's change the truth. They are actually doing that nowadays. See, in one of the BBC things, they actually said, what should the public think about climate change? So they only get one person on who's pro-climate change. There's no one on to defend the hacked emails, which they finally got around to talking about, and then they dismiss it, and then basically tell you to shut up by saying, what should the public be thinking? How's a pro-climate change guy supposed to tell you what you should think? I mean, it's actually the point, no one from the public is actually interviewed about anything now, unless of course it's like a hunter or something that is local. You'll never get interviewed and you'll never have someone on who represents your...
Well, else I read something like the unusual deaths, the microbiologists that are...
Yeah, 13 deaths in the last 5 months.
30% in the last 18 months higher of unusual deaths.
Yeah, Dr. Kelly, that's when the BBC lost everything.
Yeah.
Have you got any, like, high-profile people here today?
We were hopefully having Jane Burgermeister, who is an Austrian journalist who has actually filed charges against Baxter, the pharmaceutical company, because they released 72 kilos of live bird flu virus into vaccine materials, and this was distributed around 48 countries in the world.
Can we just ask you to explain a little bit more about the court case that you putting together, or that you have put together?
Yeah. Well,
just talk about that if you would.
Well, I mean, I originally filed charges against Baxter in Austria because they contaminated 72 kilos of vaccine material with the live bird flu virus, and they did this in facilities in Orton the Donau, where they produce seasonal flu vaccine. There was no reason for them to have had the live bird flu virus in the first place, and because biosafety level 3 regulations apply, it's almost impossible for it to have been an accidental case of contamination and distribution of this material. Biosafety level 3 regulations require the lab staff to wear protective clothing, to manipulate the virus using mechanical arms. It's in a cabinet, it's in its separate laboratory with double doors, electronic codes, and there's even a special ventilation system to ensure it doesn't escape over the ventilation. So everything is pointing towards this having been a deliberate attempt to trigger a global bird flu pandemic, as the Times of India did in fact say. And what most people don't realise, of course, is that with a pandemic level 6 declaration, you can be forced to take this vaccination. There was a parliamentary briefing note, I think on November the 12th, published, saying that that compulsory vaccination would even be possible in the UK. That means here in Scotland.
Wow.
And I don't know how many people, I was walking through Edinburgh this afternoon, and I'm wondering how many people do know that, in the coming weeks and months they can actually be forced to take this vaccine. I mean, how many
Sadly, I think
that?
it's less than we would like.
Yes.
So what can people do to find out more about this kind of information?
Well, because the mainstream media is controlled by the same interests that control the pharma industries, I fear it's up to people like us to build new communication networks, go back to word of mouth, to leafleting, to pamphleting, to putting up YouTube videos, and becoming ourselves. Every single person has to become an information point, informing others. And of course, there's some websites you can go to, but they're not really sufficient. And so I think we all have to turn into information carriers to our fellow human beings and bridges to this truth, because most people are being held in lies, being told by the media. The first lie is that there's a pandemic when there is clearly no pandemic, and I think the UK itself, the government admitted there are only about 15,000 cases of confirmed swine flu in laboratories in the whole of the UK since this began, which is negligible. I think WHO has admitted that only 8,000 people have actually died from the swine flu, which is also negligible. It's a very mild disease. The first lie is that we're in a pandemic. There is no pandemic. and you know, it's like an Orwellian 1984 myth that's been created by the media with all these pictures and images and people getting ill, but there's no pandemic.
Is there anywhere that you can suggest that, like your own website or another website that people can go to learn more about this, so we can, you know, put it out there ourselves?
I'm sure. I've been doing this website now for a few months, and it's theflucase.com.
Flucase.com.
And I think there are lots of other websites and blogs starting up, and of course Infowars is a great website, just to have a general idea of what's going on. So
that's great.
Okay, great.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so
much.
Well
done. And good luck with it all.
Yeah, good luck.
We'll carry on fighting the fight as well.
Yeah, you're very brave. Well done. Thank you.
Good luck tonight.
Yeah.